Hello everyone, Gene here. This video was originally supposed to be the mid-game guide follow-up on my previous video on how to highlight the early game. I got quite a bit larger than expected, so I'm splitting it up into two videos. In this video, I'll be covering all the objectives of Deadlock and how to approach them. In Deadlock, objectives are crucial for winning because they provide significant advantages to your team that make it easier to destroy the enemy's patron. These advantages include souls, item slots, base stats, map pressure and control, and it influencing the pace of the game. Securing objectives like the Soul Urn, Mid-Boss, and Walkers can lead to a snowball effect where the team controlling them gains a significant edge and eventually wins the game. While kills can provide short-term advantages, like collecting the kill bounty and making the enemy behind in souls, controlling objectives provides a more consistent and sustainable way to snowball towards victory. Getting one or more kills often opens up the path for securing an objective. Whether you get one or more kills, you should think about whether I can take a large objective, like a Guardian, Walker, Urn, or Mid-Boss. If you can't, then it's fine to back off and reset, or take a smaller objective like boxes or a jungle camp. With that out of the way, let's go over the objectives of Deadlock and how to approach them. These are boxes and golden statues that are located all around the map. They spawn 2 minutes into the game and respawn every 3 minutes. Boxes have a 60% chance to drop unsecured souls, and the soul value drops from them scales of game length. Unsecured souls means that whenever you collect souls from a box or jungle camp, they get stored into a bag that slowly feeds into your soul count. This bag can be dropped on death, so after doing a box run, make sure to position cautiously, as to not donate the enemy free souls, and spend your souls as soon as you can afford an important item, to remove the majority of the bag. Golden statues have a 50% chance to drop a random permanent stat buff. These buffs, while small, stack up and matter the longer the game goes, especially past 30 minutes where the buff provided grows stronger. Under mid Breakables spawn at 10 minutes and respawn every 3 to 5 minutes. These are a great source of souls that you can get if you keep track of its spawn timer. Breakables only provide a small amount of resources. You should always prioritize clearing the wave before doing breakables because the wave is the majority of your soul income. And it prevents the enemy from using that wave to push your objectives like Guardians and Walkers. After clearing your wave, you usually have about 30 seconds of downtime. This is the perfect time to collect these breakables without missing the next wave. As you play more games of Deadlock, you'll memorize the locations of all, if not most of the breakable locations. I made a video of the locations of some of the ones that are easily accessible in the early game if you want to learn more. I already covered these in my previous video, but in summary, these spawns at 5 minutes and respawn every 5 minutes afterward. These give you a powerful stat buff that scales with game length. Even if your hero doesn't use a particular buff well, you should still aim to secure them because it denies the enemy from taking it. You should aim to arrive at these buffs a bit before they spawn and secure it as soon as it spawns. The best way to do this is to shove the wave that crashes at 4:40 and 9:40 minutes and use the nearby bounce pads in lane to get here. You can also set up trap plays to pick off enemies going for buffs with abilities like Combo and Hook. There is a mod that keeps track of bridge buff and mid-boss timers, but is currently in an early version with known bugs. If you're interested, the link is in the description. These are mini neutral objectives located all around the map. Unlike other MOBAs, Deadlock doesn't have a jungler who gets a majority of their farm from the jungle. Everyone receives a majority of their income from waves, so you shouldn't be missing out on a wave just to do a camp. Similar to boxes, these are best collected in between waves. When you're ahead, you should aim to take the enemy's jungle camps overtaking yours, and when behind, aim to secure your camps when it's safe before the enemy steals them. How fast you clear these camps depends on the hero you're playing and the items you build. Heroes like Vindicta, Grey Talon, Mirage, and Dynamo have bad jungle clear times that they usually don't spend much time farming jungle camps. Heroes like Infernus, Seven, Wraith, and Haze excel at clearing jungle fast and can use the souls from camps to become a massive threat later into the game. Items that improve your jungle clear are Monster Rounds, Tesla Bullets, Cultist Sacrifice, and Ricochet. Some of these jungle monsters are close enough to hit with 2 of them at once with a heavy melee, which can considerably speed up your jungle clear. Over-prioritizing jungle is a common mistake I see in lower ranks. Doing this makes you much less active and threatening on the map. I often see people who miss out on gank timings or are late to join a fight because they're doing a camp beforehand. Camps aren't that important in the grand scheme of things and should be done when there's nothing else better to do on the map. If you notice a fight or a gank opportunity nearby, you should stop doing the camp and help your team out. These are the first line of defense for both teams, and it's the first major objective they will likely encounter in Deadlock. When destroyed, they open up a path to the enemy base and give your team souls, map control, and item slots, depending on how many guardians your team has destroyed. They take 60% less weapon damage from heroes and troopers at the start of the game, increasing to 50% more weapon damage at 10 minutes. This means you should prioritize poking enemies over the Guardian early on in lane. Guardians can be parried and temporarily disabled for 2 seconds, then will use this laser attack and be able to melee again for another 5 seconds. Parrying Guardians can come in handy in order to dive low health opponents or to destroy a Guardian faster without a wave. Buying monster rounds or Cultist Sacrifice increases your weapon damage and decreases the damage Guardians do to you. Suppressor reduces Guardian DPS, giving you more time to destroy a Guardian before it clears your wave. At the time of recording, the last remaining Guardian gives your team an item slot when destroyed. If your team is ahead and has already destroyed a third Guardian before the enemy, it becomes crucial to defend your third Guardian to maintain your item slot advantage over the enemy. When you're down item slots, you don't feel the disadvantage in the beginning, but as the game goes on and you start filling your items, you'll start to run out of slots to buy items. Meanwhile, the enemy is up a whole item or more over you. You'll see the enemy attempt multiple times to take this third Guardian, and if you successfully defend these pushes, you'll snowball your lead even more. If you're behind and are starved of item slots, aim to trade your life to destroy enemy Guardians and split push the other sides of the map from the enemy to gain valuable team-wide souls and item slots from destroying their structures.
You would think someone would be interested in collecting souls.
The soul urn is a crucial objective that I see is often undervalued both in high elo matchmaking and amongst the players I coach.
Depositing the urn gives your team souls and a random golden statue buff. The depositor gains an additional 25% more souls from the urn and an ability point. Extra souls are granted to the behind team if they manage to deposit the urn. The soul urn spawns at 10 minutes and every 5 minutes afterward.
The first urn always spawns near yellow lane, the second near green lane, and then they continue rotating, always appearing on the opposite lane of the previous spawn.
If your team is a 5k or more network lead, you should almost always go for the first urn. It's usually the safest and most efficient way to extend your advantage. It's also a great call after winning a team fight, or when your side lanes are pushed. Those conditions make it harder for the enemy to respond or contest the urn.
Certain heroes can enable or secure urn deposits more easily.
Dynamo and Viscous can grant invincibility frames during deposit with Quantum Entanglement and Cube. Kelvin's Dome can help secure urn deposit for an ally, but will freeze their urn if it's dropped.
AoE control heroes like Dynamo, Seven, Warden,
Lash,
Ivy,
and Bebop can zone enemies off the urn and punish deposit attempts.
If your team has one or more of these heroes, look to do urn, especially when the other team lacks tools to stop it. Depositing the urn yourself denies the enemy out of depositing until the next urn spawn. One lost fight could let the enemy steal the urn and flip the momentum, so whenever you have the opportunity and it's safe, you should do the urn. If you're 5k plus behind and the enemy starts urn, you should think twice before contesting. If you lack a numbers advantage or strong urn fighting heroes, the best move may be to split push the other two lanes. This forces the enemy to respawn and helps you catch up in souls and item slots by destroying undefended guardians or walkers.
After you successfully deposit the urn, you should look to defend your structures because the enemy will often push other lanes where a team is depositing the urn. Comeback urns occur when one team is significantly behind the other. This happens when there's a 15% net worth gap on the first urn, or 10% gap for all future urns. If you're ahead, you should take the urn and hold it hostage, as I like to call it. Keep the urn in your territory and don't let the enemy ever get a chance to snatch it. By doing this, you're denying them the ability to get comeback urn, which is the easiest way a behind team can come back into the game. You can also hostage your urn if it's neutral and your team just lost a team fight. A team that won a fight will often deposit the urn to get even further ahead, so denying the urn from them is a good idea. This strategy of hostaging the urn was significantly nerfed in a recent update, but is still able to be performed. Now when you hold the urn for too long, you start taking damage, and this damage can't be healed by the base. In order to continue hostaging the urn, you need to juggle it between another teammate, or continue holding the urn after it's depleted all of your HP, both for significant disadvantages that force you to drop the urn. When the urn is held for too long, the urn will be unable to be picked up for 12 seconds, and will walk towards its starting location. If you're on the receiving end of the hostage, this is your chance to snatch the urn and deposit it yourself. Doing the mental math in your head to determine if the urn is comeback or even during a match can be difficult, but luckily there are indicators on the urn that will tell you if the urn is even or a comeback urn. While picking up the urn, if there are green candles floating around it, that means the urn is comeback urn for your team. If there are red candles, then it's comeback urn for the enemy. If you see no candles, that means the urn is even for both teams. Be wary, as when you pick up the urn, the deposit location will be fixed until the next urn spawns, regardless of how the net worth of both teams change during the current urn's lifetime. If you're ahead, you should try to take and deposit the urn before it turns into comeback urn for them, because it denies the enemy team the opportunity to get a comeback urn. Comeback urns are harder to deposit into because you have to venture deep into enemy territory, which gives the enemy ample time and space to defend. If the enemy is attempting to deposit a comeback urn and your team is not in position to defend it, or aren't ahead enough to negate the disadvantages of defending a comeback urn, don't defend the urn, focus your efforts elsewhere in the map. If both teams are relatively even, or the urn deposit is on their side of the map, you can take the urn and bait depositing the urn, while you tell your team to split push the other 2 lanes. When the enemy realizes that they are being split pushed, they have a tough choice to make, either defend their walkers or defend the urn. Often they'll choose to defend the walkers, meaning you get to deposit the urn for free because you successfully baited out their rotations. If they choose to defend the urn, it's crucial that you back off and not let the enemy get close enough to you to melee you, as they'll drop the urn and likely donate the urn to them. If you manage to successfully hold onto the urn, they'll lose one or more of their walkers. If you're even with the enemy and the enemy is taking the urn, if your team has all their ults up and your team has a good urn fight comp, you should contest the urn. Remember to always shove your wave before fighting for the urn. It makes split pushing harder for an enemy team, and if you win your urn fight, you'll have good wave states to push their structures. But if you lose the urn fight, you make it harder for the enemy team to push your structures. When depositing the urn, you can wall bounce and jump above the urn drop off to juke enemies below, trying to melee you, to drop the urn and prevent you from depositing the urn. You can also parry quickly to drop the urn and kill an enemy who you know is gonna melee you, or ask a teammate to parry for you to guarantee the urn deposit. Lastly, whenever you deposit the urn, it's crucial that you secure the soul orbs to come out of it, because 50% of the soul value of the urn is able to be denied. When the enemy deposits the urn, aim to safely deny the soul orbs to spew out of it to lessen their reward. If you feel like you've learned something, consider subscribing. This game is frankly made for the unemployed. Deadlock has a boatload of hidden mechanics and information that I aim to share with you guys. These are the second line of defense for both teams and give a large amount of souls, map control, and 1 to 2 item slots when destroyed. The team that destroys more walkers first before the enemy often dominates the mid game and uses their lead to take mid boss, siege the enemy base, and end the game. The side lane walkers have considerably less health than the blue lane walker, making them more vulnerable to split pushes. Walkers give the defenders 15% resistances when they stand near a walker. At the start of the game, walkers take 60% reduced weapon damage from heroes and troopers, then take more damage as the game progresses. At 16 minutes, they take 30% increased weapon damage from heroes, and at 20 minutes, they take 40% increased weapon damage from troopers. This means that after laning phase ends around 8 to 10 minutes, in most cases you shouldn't push walkers because you don't do enough damage to kill them. The enemy will rotate to you and kill you while you're overextended pushing walkers. This is a common mistake I see in lower ranks. Walkers also take less weapon damage if more than 2 people are pushing it, so if your team is pushing multiple walkers, aim to spread out if possible. If you're close to destroying the walker, then commit to killing it. Even if you die doing so, it's worth it because it'll open up their base, gain souls for you and your team, unlock an item slot, and pull defenders to you, setting up your team to deposit their urn or take another walker elsewhere. When pushing walkers, here are some angles that make it harder for the enemy to defend against you in the wave and can make it easier for you to escape. If you're playing a melee build, it can be hard to damage the walker with melees because of its stomp attack. Here are some ways you can melee the walker while evading its stomp. Mid-boss is the most important objective in the game. It becomes a lot easier to push the enemy base and end the game when you have mid-boss because of the powerful Rejuvenator buff. The Rejuvenator gives your team increased trooper health, fire rate, hero health, move speed, and faster respawn time on your next death. The first, second, and third mid-boss give a buff that lasts 3, 4, and 5 minutes respectively. The respawn buff in particular is a powerful advantage over the enemy because you get to siege their base without the fear of dying and waiting to respawn for a long time. Even if you die, as long as you trade kills with the enemy, you can quickly zip back into their base and end because of your reduced respawns. If you push mid-boss with a 15k lead or more, it becomes pretty easy to end because troopers gain 35% more resistances inside the enemy base, and the enemy has to kill you twice in order to stop you from ending the game. I see people decisively win a fight, and instead of doing mid, they push a walker, do earn, or farm the jungle. This is incorrect because when you decisively win a team fight and have the advantage, you want to take the objective with the most reward. When you have a numbers advantage after winning a fight, think about all the objectives you can do and do the one that yields the highest reward. In terms of reward, the mid-boss is the highest, then the earn and walkers are about similar reward. Walkers give your team a fixed amount of souls, but offer map control and item slots. Earns give your team a variable soul reward scaling with game length. This reward overtakes the soul reward that walkers give at around 17 minutes. The earn also gives the carrier additional souls and an ability point. Lastly, taking jungle camps yields the least reward. This is how you take full advantage of a one fight. I see people often miss their opportunity to do mid-boss in the lower ranks and farm jungle instead. I believe this is the number one reason why games take longer to close out in lower ranks. There are some heroes you need to be careful of when doing the mid-boss. Heroes like Dynamo, Flash, Abrams, Infernus, and Viper have AoE CC ultimate to make it easy for them to disrupt your team's mid-boss secure and steal the Rejuvenator. Warden, Seven, Haze, Ivy, Vindicta, and any fed M1 carry with Ricochet can deal significant AoE damage to teams trying to secure mid-boss. Anyone who buys Unstoppable or has Unstoppable in their kit like Yamato, Abrams, and Mirage have a unique advantage because they don't have to worry about getting stunned by parries when securing the mid-boss. Abrams' Charge, Mirage's Tornado, Ivy's Stoneform, Sinclair's Bunny Hex, and McGinnis Wall are all great CC options to confirm mid-boss. Kelvin has a strong mid-boss secure because he can freeze the Rejuvenator right as it drops and with the aid of his team, kill anyone inside of his dome, drop the dome, and quickly secure mid-boss. To counter this, your team must be in the pit and win the fight inside dome, or we can pick off or CC Kelvin before he's able to reach your Rejuvenator. If these heroes are alive and missing on the map, you probably shouldn't do mid-boss. If your team has an advantage, whether it be net worth, more ults, or better wave states, you should use the mid-boss cry when it's at half HP to bait it and kill troublesome opponents who otherwise have a decent chance to steal the mid-boss. When securing the mid-boss, your team should be communicating about who's gonna parry and who's gonna melee. If the enemy is likely to contest and have troublesome abilities like Mirage's Tornado, Ivy's Stoneform, or Sinclair's Bunny Hex, learn to punch and parry towards the crystal from another angle to dodge these abilities and secure the mid-boss. If you have a large lead like 15k or more, you can look for a fight or a pick. Or if you have a significant advantage, like your team has a better mid-boss comp and secure, and more ultimates over the enemy, then force mid-boss. If your comp isn't good at mid-boss, you usually need to win a fight pretty cleanly to do mid-boss. If the enemy is doing mid-boss and your team is even or slightly behind and you're all alive, it's often a good idea to contest mid-boss, especially if your team has good mid-boss secure. Even if the enemy has a better mid-boss secured than you, you can play to kill them, rather than solely focusing on securing the crystal. Even if you lose mid-boss, wiping the enemy team after is great because it removes their powerful respawn advantage over you. Knowing the mid-boss respawn timer can come in handy. The first, second, and third mid-boss respawns in 7, 6, and 5 minutes respectively. Subsequent mid-bosses will spawn every 5 minutes. Lastly, the quickest way to damage the mid-boss for the majority of heroes is by weaving in shots and abilities while spamming heavy melee. Outright shooting your gun is only more DPS when you're playing a gun build and have a lot of gun items online. These are similar to Guardians, but are located outside of each team's base and work a bit differently than normal Guardians. They start at 40% bullet resistance, at least 20% bullet resistance per enemy near it, maxing out at minus 80% when 6 players siege a base Guardian. Base Guardians have innate health regeneration after not taking damage for a while, unlike normal Guardians, and have backdoor protections when a wave hasn't crashed into it for a period of time. Defeating a pair of base Guardians also unlocks one of the 4 item slots. After your team has destroyed a pair of base Guardians, you successfully open up their base. While destroying the rest of their base Guardians gives you more souls and additional escape paths, it's not necessary to end the game. Shrines are the last line of defense for the enemy team before being able to damage the Patron. They have the lowest health out of any structure, and have similar bullet resist scaling and backdoor protections as base Guardians. When sieging the enemy base, you want to make sure at least someone is threatening the shrines. It can be easy to get stuck fighting outside of the base in the choke point, and if your team gets wiped here, then you risk not getting much off of your siege. Make sure not to overexpose yourself by attacking shrines. Don't stand out in the open where it's easy for the enemy to engage onto you. If you're playing a close range or melee hero, attack the shrines from here to minimize the angles people can poke you from. If you're playing a range hero, the range at which you can shoot the shrines is longer than you'd expect. You can shoot the shrines from down here or up here.
Finally, I can walk amongst you and give you your reward.
This is the final objective of the game. Whichever team downs and destroys the patron first will secure victory and win the game. The patron has two states. One where it's vulnerable and able to be damaged after defeating both of the enemy's shrines, and another after you down it, and it transforms into its weakened state. Once you're in their base, your goal is to down the patron because it's the last line of defense for the enemy, and it lowers the respawn timers of the enemy by up to 20 seconds.
Once you destroy their shrines and down the patron, your team should back up and assess if they can end the game or not.
I'd say there's 4 factors that determine whether you should leave or end the game after downing patron. There's remaining rejuvenator time, wave states, numbers advantage, and lastly, if certain key teamfight ults are available.
If your team still has Rejuvenator when the patron is downed, it can be a good idea to call to end the game, because even if you lose the fight at patron, your respawn timers are halved, so the enemy won't get much off the map when you're dead. But without Rejuvenator, if your team loses the fight, your whole team will be dead for over a minute,
which is enough for most behind teams to get back into the game, get mid-boss, and push your base.
Having good wave states, meaning where waves are shoved into the enemy base, makes end calls better because troopers are harder to deal with for the enemy team in their base. And if you get wipes trying to end, the enemy can't all zipline towards your base because they have to fix their waves. Without good wave states, the enemy can quickly zip into your base and end the game themselves if you got wipes trying to end the game previously. If your team has a numbers advantage, ending the game becomes easier. This is often the case because the enemy team needs to kill you twice or wait for their Rejuvenator to expire to defend their base, but you only need to kill them once to end the game because of respawn timers. If you have less numbers than the enemy, generally you should back up and regroup or continue farming.
Lastly, if your team is down to patron, you can end the game easier if you have impactful AoE ultimates up like Lash's Death Slam, Dynamo's Black Hole, or 7's Storm Cloud. When the patron is weakened, you need to be pretty close in order to damage it and emit a damage aura around it, similar to Torment Pulse. It's important to make sure your entire team is focused on shooting the patron, especially if your Rejuvenator is running out or the enemy respawns soon. It's easy to forget about these things if you or your team is focused on shooting at enemies and padding their stats.
If you find yourself in a situation where you've wiped the enemy team and they all have long respawn timers and mid-bosses up, the best way to approach this is to split up your team. Have 1 to 2 people doing mid-boss while the rest of your team pushes their base. Due to lowering the enemy's respawn after downing patron, if your team downs patron and then goes mid, you leave room for the enemy to respawn and contest mid-boss. If they win the fight here, they can take mid-boss and come back into the game.
That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. The Deadlock wiki has been a big help when making this video. Deadlock is still an alpha of game mechanics that are frequently subject to change. Information in this video will eventually get outdated, so I recommend checking the Deadlock wiki when that happens. I'll see you guys the next time I upload.